Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Kyuubi granted Rinnegan to Naruto, at the age of 6, part 3. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. A small brown object strolled down the streets, glancing from side to side every few seconds, in order to watch Konoha Shinobi. It was brown, with light brown stripes on its head. The most distinguishing feature, however, was the red ribbon on its right ear. This creature was the daimyo wife's pet cat, Tor. To all the other Konoha Shinobi, however, it was known as the demon cat from hell, despised second to the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Why? Well, let's see. Naruto sat in a tree about 5 feet behind the cat, glaring at the damn cat that he had captured 20 times in the last week. It had maimed his face so badly that he would have been scarred for life if it weren't for Kyuubi working overtime. Why Daimyo's wife was in Konoha for so long was a mystery in itself. Why she brought the damn cat just made no sense. Shino sat about 10 feet off to the right of the cat, also glaring at it. One time, it had cut up the top of his coat and broken his glasses, showing his face to Konoha. Why was that so bad? 1. It was in the middle of the shopping district, full of females his age. 2. Aburams had very handsome faces, though none knew that. When those two combined, the end result was that Aburam had ended up with his own fangirl club. Almost every day after his missions were over, Naruto, Shino, and Shikamaru would have to flee before the seemingly endless amounts of horny teenage girls, and the occasional adult, meeting Sasuke once in a while, as well. Ever since then, Shino had hated the cat with every fiber of his being. He was pretty sure that even now, at least 3 fangirls were tailing him. After all, how is it that they knew exactly what time he was done with his duties, and where he would be? Hinata glared at the cat from about 7 feet from the front of it. During one of the missions, it had made a beeline into the Hyuga compound. It somehow made it inside her house, tearing up her bed, her room, her father's room, and her favorite doll of when she was young. It also wrecked just about everywhere else in the compound, and even when her cousin, Niji, had struck it in the heart with a violent palm thrust, it had still survived, and had enough to keep running. Needless to say, her father needed someone to vent his frustration out on. She could still feel the phantom pain of being knocked down every time she attempted to get into her stance. Kakashi sat on a nearby building, glaring at the cat, as well. Normally, Tor would never ever find him. So when it did one mission, Kakashi was shell-shocked. That was the fatal mistake. Everyone in Konoha noticed that he had been walking around that day with the lack of his book. It was the brand new edition, signed by Jiraiya himself, and worth about 1 million ryo in the other countries. As this was a year before it hit the market. And it was gone. Tor, unsuspecting of his fate on this sunny August day, strolled onwards at a leisurely pace. That is, until Hinata dropped down in front of her. The cat hissed at her, and bolted down the alleyway next to her, with Hinata in pursuit. The cat only ran faster, as 20 wasps started to sting at it, injecting venom taken from the poisonous snakes of the forest of the Shadow Realm. It had no known cure, and could easily kill a full-grown elephant within a minute. How Tor survived several doses of the thing, nobody knew. Tor came out on the other side of the street, and raced down the road, ducking, and weaving through the people scattered across it. 3 dogs, each with the Rinnegan, appeared behind her, and chased her, as well. Hinata rode the biggest one, and the wasps, along with Shino and Naruto, ran in the back end of the formation. Tor yipped, as 3 more dogs appeared, one of which was a small brown talking pug, appeared in front of her, cutting off her lane. She veered into a nearby alleyway that had 3 entrances, only to find out that she was trapped. 3 Rinnegan dogs and Hinata were behind the brown cat, 3, and Naruto were on her right, and Shino and his wasps were on her left. Kakashi stood on the building in front of her. Before any of the party could react, however, a small fox bolted into the scene, running by, as the formation of Hinata broke. Chasing the small kid was 2, who were each doing hand signs. Wine style. Great breakthrough. One said. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. The other performed in a deadly fire and wind combination. Everyone and everything except for Tor scattered, as the cat was too transfixed by the glow to sense any danger. The fox kid darted off to the right, and the huge fireball hit Tor straight on. The results were instantaneous. Tor screamed out in agony, as the blazing flames, only fanned by the wind, cooked the cat alive. When the fire died out 5 minutes later, all that Team 7 could see were a pile of ashes, and a somehow intact red bow sitting at the top. Kakashi glared at the 2, who gulped, and made the hand seal away. Both disappeared in a plume of smoke, and everyone, but Naruto, deduced that they fled the scene of the crime. Naruto smirked at what really happened. The Gult made the hand seal, and flared their chakra in a manner which suggested that they used it to flee, hence the smoke cloud. What nobody knew was that they were actually his clones. As well as a fox. Since Konoha hated foxes ever since the Kyuubi attack, it was believable that they were attempting to attack what they considered a demon. Tor was in the line of fire, and didn't attempt to move out of the way, so it wasn't technically their fault that she died. As the clones disappeared, the fox had run off from view, and dispelled, as well. Naruto had to thank Shika's ingenious tactic planning, and Kajiri's flawless execution for the assassination of Tor, which was complete. Nobody fucks with Naruto Uzumaki, and gets away with it. What? A woman's scream pierced the relative quietness of Konoha's busy workday. Sarutobi sighed. Team 7, care to run by me how you managed to fail a D-ranked mission, of all things? Kakashi shook his head before going through his mission report once more. We were trying to retrieve Tor, and we had her trapped in an alleyway, when a fox ran by, chased by 2 of Konoha's ninja. They launched a fireball after the kid, which dodged it, but Tor was in the line of fire, no pun intended, and was caught. After it cleared to reveal the ashes of the cat, they ran away, and I couldn't sense their chakra anymore. He then pulled a scroll, and tossed it to the wife of the daimyo. Those are Tor's remains. Off with their heads. She screamed. Kakashi shook his head. I didn't get to see their faces. As they were wearing masks, he trailed off. After calming down, and getting depressed over the death of her beloved Tor, she left, leaving the ninja alone. Well, Team 7, I guess that you've earned a C-ranked mission, seeing as how you've taken care of Tor for us. Sarutobi said with a kind smile. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? Said the scarecrow, who already knew. Oh, come on. Obviously Naruto created clones to conveniently kill the cat. Sarutobi started with the roll of the eyes. Naruto started sweating, to which everyone grinned. I don't know what you mean, he said. Kakashi sighed while shaking his head. Naruto, I can tell the difference between a clone and a human being, he said. Naruto nodded, but raised a question. Why didn't you just say that I killed the cat then? He asked. Because Tor was around when I was a genin, and she was as much of a pain in the ass then, as she was now. Sarutobi stated. Kakashi nodded, having remembered his days of catching the thrice-damned creature. So what's the mission? Shino prompted. Usually, C-ranked missions included leaving the village, which meant that he could find new bugs to use. Also, he wished to see how strong he was. Maybe another round in the Shadow Realm wouldn't hurt him. Right, your mission is to guard this bridge builder back to his home country, the Land of Waves. Sarutobi stated while motioning for Iruka, who had been silently standing at the right of his desk, to go retrieve the client. A minute after the Scar teacher left, he returned with a drunken old man. Which dish? I paid for ninjas, not some kiddies in their diapers. The kid in the trench coat looks emo, the girl looks like she is underconfident, and the blonde dude looks strong, but he's still just a kid. He said while getting ready to take a sip of his sake once more. To his surprise, however, when he brought the bottle full of liquid to his lips, he noticed that it was considerably lighter, and that the front of his shirt suddenly got wet. He glanced down to see his bottle caught at the handle, and then to Naruto, who had seemingly materialized a tanto out of nowhere, and was holding it warily. Care to say that again? He asked somewhat menacingly. The old man, to his credit, immediately sobered up from the effects of the alcoholic beverage, and spoke in a much more certified tone. I apologize for insulting the quality of your shinobi, Hokage-sama, and I am honored that you have agreed to this mission. I am Tazuna the bridge builder, and I am currently finishing up the bridge that will soon connect the Land of Waves mainland with the Land of Fire, thus ensuring a trade route between us, and ultimately boosting both countries' power in one way or another. He stated. Kakashi nodded at the information he received before clapping once, drawing his genin's attention. Alright. Team 7, pack for what I assume will be a 2-week stay, and meet at the Eastern Gate in an hour. He said. Everyone nodded, and left to carry out their respective business. Naruto, Shino, and Hinata to pack, Kakashi to go find the next book in the Icha Icha series, and Tazuna to stock up on sake, and try out Konoha's version of the beverage. What nobody would anticipate was that in the ninja world, cats really do have 9 lives. Naruto stood before his 6 lead clones once more, leaving them assignments to carry out while he was gone. Hyasuke, you guys need to practice each style. He said to the Taijutsu commander, who nodded and disappeared. Anju, I want you to focus on the katana. Hand me the second tanto, and both sheaths. He told his Kenjutsu commander to do so, who merely nodded, and leapt out of the window after handing over the 2 short blades. Jake, go out, and learn a defensive or 2. I only know water style. Water wall, and while I admit that it is powerful, a sharpened kunai covered in wind chakra could pierce it easily. Perhaps you should try to create a defensive earth style that creates a dome. Naruto suggested. Jake nodded, and disappeared by sinking into the earth. Shika, we need wartime formations. In case a war breaks out, we need to be prepared. Shika grumbled, really seeing no need in making them, but sat in the corner of the room with about 10 other clones crowded around 2 tables, muttering amongst themselves while occasionally writing and pointing. Lisa took the division, and stayed in the Anbu HQ for the whole period. You know what you're doing. Said clone nodded, and left in a flash of lightning. Kajiri, you will stay with me on this mission. If something goes wrong, I want you to step in, and cause havoc by assassinating someone. Also, have your division spread out in a 5-mile radius around us. You know, better safe than sorry, and stuff like that. Kajiri, if you get into a battle, you can always summon either me or the other clone commanders. The woman nodded, and disappeared in a plume of smoke. Naruto gathered his supplies in a simple scroll, and left, ready for his first C-ranked mission. When Naruto arrived, he noticed that he was the third to have arrived, with Tazuna and Kakashi, surprisingly early, already present, and talking as he leaned against the gates, ready to leave. Shino and Hinata arrived finally. "Alright team, let's move out," Kakashi said. His team nodded and settled into the Macedonia formation. Hinata stood to the front of Tazuna, Naruto to his left, Shino to his right, and Kakashi behind him. They traveled along the dirt road at a civilian speed, so as not to leave the old bridge builder behind. At first, all three genin were relatively excited to leave Konoha for the first time. The time they chased Mizuki up to the north of Konoha didn't really count, because they were in a state of emergency. However, traveling at a nice pace on a nice, warm, and sunny day, outside of the village, gave them a chance to appreciate the scenery. 20 minutes outside of Konoha, they had reached a smaller village known as Nagasaki. Traveling through the village, they had made it across, and through it, but after leaving the village was when they first encountered trouble. They had been stopped by a group of 10 bandits who had hoped to get some easy money out of them. But when Shino sent his wasps after them, they were dead within seconds. After that, they traveled throughout several other small towns and villages for 3 more hours in peace and quiet. The only other eventful thing was that Shino had leveled up for defeating the bandits and had gained yet another hive of bugs. This hive, however, made Shino a threat to Naruto. The 5th type of bug Shino had was a specialized type of kinkajou. Unlike the regular ones, these can't drain regular chakra. They feed specifically upon yokai, the demon chakra. In other words, Shino had become a real threat to the Jinchuriki of the world. The regular would drain the human chakra, and when they were forced to call upon the demonic chakra, the other would drain them of that, as well. The only thing was, Naruto had absorbed and converted 7 taels worth of chakra, meaning that he could only draw upon 2 taels worth of demonic chakra. And that meant that he had too much chakra for several hives of kinkajou. So, in actuality, Shino had become a bigger threat, but still wasn't up there. Anyways, after the 3 hours were over, they had finally made it into Wave Country. "We're in Wave Country now," Tazuna stated proudly. "Is the wave always covered in fog?" Naruto asked, having noted that fog had settled in about 5 minutes earlier. It wasn't a hindrance, but it did slightly unnerve him. As a ninja, he couldn't really trust anything, even nature or the weather. "No, not always, but usually during this time of the year it is foggy," Tazuna replied. A few minutes later, it lifted, revealing several thousands of trees surrounding the path. After another few minutes of walking, each ninja noticed a puddle on the side of the road. It hasn't rained in a few weeks, so that puddle should have dissolved already, they thought simultaneously. The 3 genin glanced at Kakashi, who shrugged. They relaxed, knowing that he was basically telling them that it was a jinjutsu, but to keep up the unsuspecting facade. As they passed by, 2 people rose from the puddle. They were almost identical, and wore the Karigakur headband, but with a slash going horizontally through the center. Silently moving, they quickly wrapped their chain around Kakashi, who appeared stunned. Pulling together, they sliced Kakashi into pieces, and watched, as his blood splattered all against the ground. "One little piggy," the one to the left said. Shino and Hinata surrounded the stunned bridge builder, while Naruto stepped forward with a growl. Mzu and Maizu, the demon brothers of the mist, 2C ranked missing nin from Kiri. "Why are you 2 here?" he asked. Maizu, the one to the right, smirked underneath his mask. "Oh, so the little genin thinks he can play with the big boys, huh? Listen, punk, hand over the old fart, hey. Over there, and we might let you go in peace," he said. Naruto appeared in thought for a second, which scared Tazuna. "Nah," he said, as a reinforced clone appeared next to him. Naruto drew his tanto, and charged Mzu, who zigzagged at him, while Maizu headed for the bridge builder, only to meet the clone. Mzu released the chain holding him, and his twin brother together, as several shuriken attempted to impale it, and keep them against the tree. He reached Naruto, and slashed at the boy, who sidestepped through the attack. Inside of Gumzu's guard, he plunged one of his tanto through Gumzu's collarbone. As Gumzu fell to the ground in pain, Naruto tried to finish him off with the second tanto coming down on his neck, but Gumzu miraculously blocked the attack with his gauntlet. Naruto grunted, took his first blade back out, and used chakra to backtrack, as the poison gauntlet almost clawed his stomach. He whizzed 2 shuriken at Gumzu, who managed to stand, and blocked them with the gauntlet. He released the gauntlet to start making hand signs, which Naruto started to do, as well by sheathing his swords. "Water style. Water bullet," Gumzu said, as he released a flying orb of water at the genin. Naruto jumped up, finally finishing his hand signs, and releasing water from a water bottle he had been carrying. "Water style. Water dragon jutsu," he said, as the water made a small dragon only about 5 feet long. The dragon, though smaller, packed the same punch, and was 3 times faster than the regular-sized dragon. It charged at Gumzu, who jumped out of its path, but was knocked out, as it twisted, and hit him in midair, sending him through several trees along the way. The clone ducked under a slash, and leaned back from Maizu's foot. From his position, he drew a kunai, and stabbed it into Maizu's thigh. He stood, and was punched away, as Maizu flailed wildly in pain. As he did, several flying spiders appeared, and started spitting silk at him. They flew round him, wrapping him up, until at last, he was tied up. Let me go so I can fucking kill you all. He snarled as he struggled against the special silk. Naruto cracked a grin in response. Telling me that you're going to kill me won't make me come any closer, he stated. As Mizu continued to growl and shout, Kakashi chose that time to show up. Hey team, good job in the situation. Naruto, I like how you battled these guys, and Shino and Hinata, you two did well in deciding to immediately guard Tazuna. He said. If this were a test, you'd all have gotten an A. Mizu glared at the elite. How are you still alive? Kakashi completely ignored his question and hauled the missing nin over his shoulder. You three stay here with Tazuna. I'm going to interrogate Mizu. He said. What about Mizu? Naruto asked. Kakashi waved his free hand. Decapitate him and take his bounty. I believe that it's 33 million for Mizu and 30 million for Mizu. No. He said. Naruto struck a thinking pose. That sounds about right. They all turned to the now crying Mizu. Don't you dare touch my brother, you sons of, he screamed through his tears. Kakashi dropped him on his head, effectively silencing him. Silence, you. He said while picking him up and walking away. Naruto sent a clone to finish off Mizu and decided to contact Kajiri. Kajiri, Naruto thought, contacting her via a mental link he shared with all of his clone commanders. How did they get by you? I'm good at assassination, not scouting. They weren't there when my squad passed by. She responded. Naruto went silent for a second before splitting a mental grin. Kajiri, you're a freaking genius. I could kiss you right now. He mentally exclaimed. I'd much rather prefer a lot more than that. She whispered seductively. Naruto ignored it, having been used to such behavior from her. You see, thanks to the generous assets Naruto gave Kajiri, she gained a little bit of a wilder side. She hid it behind the mask of seriousness that she wore when having business, but it still existed, venturing out when she and Naruto were alone. Since he was having a private conversation with Kajiri that none of the other clones, and even Kyuubi couldn't hear, she was showing that second nature. I'll make a scouting division when I get back. Thanks. He said. Sure thing, Naruto. She said, as they both sensed another clone trying to contact him, and thus slipping back into her professional mask. Hey, boss. Jake's voice intoned in Naruto's head. What is it, Jake? Naruto asked. We designed that, and a lot of others like, you have about 5 new ones now. I'm going to dispel the whole division, and myself, so you can get all that info and experience. He said. Naruto mentally nodded. I think that I could use you, as well on this mission. Naruto thought before Jake closed the connection. Several seconds later, the information feeding process began. By the minute's end, Naruto knew the 5 new things that Jake was talking about, and couldn't help but grin. Jake was the head of the ninjutsu division for 2 reasons. The first reason was that he had an uncanny ability to learn. It was almost like the Sharingan, but he didn't have to see them in action. All he needed were the mechanics behind it, and he could pull it off with relative ease. The second reason was that he was, in every sense, an ninjutsu genius. Besides the fact that he could learn at an incredible rate, he had a great and creative imagination as such. It was no surprise that in a few hours by himself, Jake had created no less than 5. Boss. He heard the clone he sent came back. He turned to it to see that he had a scroll with the words Mizu's bounty written on it. He nodded and took the scroll. What happened to his body? He asked. The clone scratched his head sheepishly. I didn't know what to do with it. Naruto sighed, dispelled the clone, and summoned Mitsuki and his cleanup division. Guys, I need you to take care of a body about 2 minutes to the east. He said. The cleanup division was good at cleaning everything and anything up, from dog shit to human corpses. Naruto could depend on them. Mitsui nodded, as she and a few other clones disappeared from their view. So, what do you make of this mission so far? Naruto asked, leaning against a tree to make himself more comfortable. It's got a lot of action, too much action for a C rank. Shino said. This statement raised both Naruto's and Hinata's suspicion, as well. That's true, C rank only details for bandits, not missing ninja, as well. For the demon brothers to actually deem Tazuna important enough to target is questionable for this ranking. Naruto responded. Who knows what else we might run into? Hinata whispered, suddenly feeling a little more scared. I do. Kyuubi suddenly stated. Naruto stood up straight, giving his attention to the demon lord. What is it? He asked. There's another demon nearby. He's low ranked in comparison to me, but your teacher should be able to handle it, albeit with a minimum amount of your help. Honestly, why does this man have demons after him? I swear, this mission is more trouble than it's worth, he responded, rather tired and weary of the mission already. He suspected that nothing would get any better, as well. He turned to Tazuna just as his sensei arrived back in the clearing, free of an unwilling accomplice. Kakashi-sensei, where's the other one? Naruto asked, as he felt Metsui disperse. Apparently, the uses of gasoline were helpful in taking care of the corpse. I left him tied to a tree so that the Anbu could come and arrest him. Now, he said, turning to the relief bridge builder. Naruto, sensing what he was about to say, intoned along with him. Care to explain why the demon brothers are after you? They both asked the now suddenly sweating Tazuna, leaking concentrated amounts of killing intention. To his credit, Tazuna held his tongue for a full minute before giving out. Alright, I'll tell you. You know Gato, right? He asked. The three genin shook his head, while Kakashi took on a quizzical expression. Not as in the CEO of Gato Shipping Corporation? Kakashi asked. Receiving an affirmative from the elderly man, he motioned for him to continue on. May seem like a respectable person if you have never met him. But in reality, he is one of the biggest mob bosses in the crime underworld. At this revelation, Kakashi's visible eye widened a small amount. What do you mean? He asked, slightly startled by this new development. Gato hires missing ninja and bandits to take out those he considers a threat to him, he responded. So he considers you a threat to him because you're building a bridge? Naruto asked, skeptical of the whole idea. You don't understand why. About a year ago, Gato decided that he wanted to rule a country. He set his sights upon this small nation of wave country. Using his enormous wealth, he hired several thousands of bandits that quickly defeated our samurai and ninja. Our military forces were gone, he took over the country, and took all of our monetary value from us. Tazuna explained. What about the daimyo? Shino asked. Even he has gone poor. We have lived in extreme poverty for years now, and Wave has lost all of its former glory. The people are depressed, the country is dilapidated, and all because of that fat pig. So why are you building the bridge? Naruto questioned once more. If we can finish this bridge, then we can establish trade with the fire country. Gato doesn't want us to get any form of power wealth included back, so he sent assassins after me to halt the progress of this bridge. If you can protect me, you can virtually save this country. Tazuna said. That's nice and all, but why only a C-rank mission? This is a B-rank, bordering A-rank mission. By rule, we are allowed to walk off this mission with the funds that you've paid us. Kakashi stated. We couldn't afford anything else. Tazuna replied simply, tears starting to water in his eyes. Kakashi sighed, and turned back to his team, who was staring at him with equally blank expressions. I'm giving this call to you guys. You demanded this mission, so you get to choose whether you want to complete it. He tells them. I'm going to complete this mission. They need our help, and, as shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, it is our duty to help them. Shino replied in a monotone. I'm going, too. Hinata said. The three turned their glances to Naruto, who had strangely not given his agreement yet. Well? Kakashi prompted. Did you really need to ask? Kyuubi Jinchuriki stated. Kakashi sighed. Alright, I guess that we will continue the mission then. Kakashi stated. Naruto nodded. But Kakashi-sensei, we need to be very, very careful from here on out. Kyuubi told me that he senses a demon nearby. He also said that you should be able to defeat him, but I wanted to let you know now instead of then. At this, Kakashi cocked an eyebrow. A demon is coming after you. He asked the bridge builder. I guess he stammered out. Had Gato really wanted him dead that badly to send a demon after him? Kakashi sighed again. I swear, life is never simple. About 30 minutes later, the group of 5 reached the shoreline of an ocean. Now what? Naruto asked. We wait for the ferryman to come back. Tazuna stated. 10 more minutes of waiting later, a hazy figure slowly emerged from the fog-covered sea. It drifted towards them like a ghost, ever so slowly. Finally, the figure reached the shoreline, revealing the ferryman with his boat. He motioned for them to come to him and his boat. Several minutes later, the 6 were sitting in the middle of the ocean, silent, as the ferryman rowed their boat. The tension was thick, as the mist grew thicker and thicker. Finally, Hinata could stand the feeling no longer, and asked a question. Why are we all so silent? She asked. SHHH. The ferryman hissed at her. Gato has thugs stationed everywhere. They might hear you. No one spoke after that. An hour later, after having seen the bridge and disembarking from the boat, the 4 ninja and the bridge builder silently trekked down the dirt path towards Tazuna's home. The mist and fog had picked up so much that there was barely half a mile of visibility. This unnerved all present. None of them had forgotten Naruto's warning of a demon nearby. A small rustling in the bush set off Hinata's already very jumpy nerves. She turned and released a kunai in the direction of the foliage. A small squeak was heard before a white rabbit hopped out of the bush, scared to death. Naruto's and Kakashi's eyes instantly narrowed, with Shino's and Hinata's following milliseconds later. Kakashi-sensei, if it is the middle of the summer, shouldn't that rabbit have brown fur? Shino questioned. The Cyclopean nodded curtly at his bug-using student. If it has white fur, then it's been raised inside, for substitution purposes. Naruto and Hinata finished at the same time. At that moment, Kajiri rang inside of Naruto's mind. Duck. She screamed as she said that a huge blade came flying at Tazuna. Kakashi cursed. Hit the floor. He ordered while diving at the bridge builder. Naruto and Shino jumped over the blade, while Hinata sank under it. The impact Kakashi had when he hit Tazuna sent both of them rolling away from danger. A huge blade swerved away from them before digging several inches into a nearby tree, with the hilt sticking out. A man appeared on that hilt. He wore bandages over the bottom half of his face, and had no eyebrows. His carry headband hung loosely round his neck. Kakashi growled at the recognition of this man, with Naruto growling a second later, though for much different purposes. Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the bloody mist. It's a pleasure to meet you. Zabuza grinned crazily. Ah, Kakashi of the Sharingan, I am honored to have the chance to battle with you, he stated. Naruto bristled. Kakashi-sensei, this is the demon, he said. But that wasn't what was troubling the young genin. No, the outfit the demon of the bloody mist bore was what troubled him. Zabuza was wearing a black robe with red clouds. Zabuza was wearing a black robe with red clouds. All three ninja and the bridge builder raised an eyebrow at Naruto's reaction. Said blonde was shaking with rage. Naruto, what's wrong? Kakashi asked. Akatsuki. The blonde-haired genin growled in response. What is Akatsuki? Shino asked, with confusion evident in his rarely emotion-filled voice. Zabuza chuckled, bringing their attention back to him. Oh, this is rich. The Jinchuriki is on a team that has no clue of what Akatsuki is about. He laughed. Everyone narrowed their eyes. Kakashi-sensei, do not take him lightly. If he's joined the Akatsuki, then he's got to be an S-class ninja. Naruto warned. Kakashi's eyes whitened. But he was an A-class ninja in the latest bingo book, he said. Zabuza chuckled again. Obviously, I have trained relentlessly to join Akatsuki. You're only an A-rank ninja, Kakashi. You can't defeat me, he said. Kakashi shrugged. I wouldn't know until I try, now won't I? Now, back to my main question. What is Akatsuki? He demanded, drawing a kunai and settling into a defensive stance. I will enlighten you. The Akatsuki is a group of S-class ninja that exists for one reason, and one reason only. To create worldwide peace, he said. Bullshit. Naruto cried. I call it total bullshit. Akatsuki is a terrorist organization that goes around the elemental nations, capturing all the Jinchuriki of the tailed beasts, he explained. All the ninja immediately tensed, knowing that it meant that Zabuza was after Naruto. The Akatsuki member nodded, showing his acceptance of this answer. I expected the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox to know of us. I think you'll be glad to know that we already have the five-tailed dolphin horse in our possession, he stated. Naruto growled. Where is your partner? Akatsuki always works in groups of two, he stated. Zabuza shrugged. He's around here somewhere. Kajiri, he stated in his mind, alerting his boss. I know. I'm searching for him now. Kajiri stated in response. Enough of this. I presume you are here for Naruto then, Kakashi said. Actually, as everybody does, Akatsuki functions off of money. I was simply on a mission to kill Tezuno over there. The fact that I can go back with the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails is just an added bonus, Zabuza stated. Kakashi moved in front of Naruto, while Shino and Hinata moved to guard Tezuno. Shino released his bugs for extra protection. Sorry to disappoint you, Zabuza, but you won't be leaving here with anything. Not even with your life, Kakashi said, revealing his Sharingan. Zabuza just chuckled some more. Is that so? As soon as he finished his question, he was in between Shino and Hinata's guard. They both turned, stunned by his sudden movement. Zabuza brought his sword down, ready to cleave the poor bridge builder in half. Another boy 14 or 15, by the looks of it, stood in between some foliage. Like his master, he wore the signature black robe with red clouds of Akatsuki. He watched with an emotionless face, as his master brought down his sword upon the bridge builder, only for the blonde-haired genin to intercept with two of his tanto. Zabuza, however, was stronger, and had simply kicked the boy away. The sensei then rushed in, and he and Zabuza engaged in battle, with the three still guarding the old man. Silently drawing three needles, Haku took time in aiming for the vital spots that would kill the man. After all, no one knew where he was, so they wouldn't be able to sense his attack. And he was confident that no one else was in the area with the sounds of battle going on. Everyone would have fled. Drawing his arm back in preparation for the throw, his ninja instincts kicked in. He rolled through a bush and leapt into a tree as several arrows and throwing knives came down where he had been standing and where he had rolled to. Glancing up, he saw a group of 5 clones that looked exactly like the blonde. 2 of them had bows and arrows, 2 others had several knives on hand, and the last one held a dagger in front of him. Again going off of reflex, Haku launched himself into the air. A dart crashed into the branch he had been standing on. To his immense surprise, the tree instantly wilted, and the leaves turned a dark purple. All of that happened within 3 seconds. Haku glanced off to the left of the main group and found 2 more clones. One was a very impressive girl who held a dagger in front of her. Her bow and arrows were strapped to her back, and several knives hung within a pocket. The other clone held a pipe near his mouth, poised straight at Haku's head. The young boy gasped as he saw the girl's magnificent body. She had a perfect face, the most beautiful hair, the brightest eyes, and she had everything. Unable to help himself, his eyes traveled downward towards her large chest. Tajiri saw this, and crossed her arms under her massive breasts, making them appear larger than they already were. Tajiri smirked. As an assassin, 2 of her biggest tools were seduction and genjutsu. With seduction, she could easily extract info from her target and kill them when they were distracted by her beauty. With her genjutsu, she could easily make someone kill themselves, or at the very least delay them until she killed them. When she combined them, however, she could get the results Haku was experiencing. She had to admit though, he was fighting the Genjutsu better than anyone ever placed under it before. And considering that she worked part-time, as a hunter nin, and other times simply, as an assassin for hire, she had placed it on a fair amount of people. Deciding to make sure that the Akatsuki member would die here, she stalked over to the very unfocused boy. He managed, however, to make her out, as a threat. "Stay away from me. I don't want to hurt you." Haku stammered out. Kajuri smirked. This one was in the bag. Standing directly in front of the boy, Kajuri grabbed both his hands gently, and slowly started bringing them up to her large juicy breasts. "I doubt that you will want to hurt me." Haku's hands were 3 centimeters away, 2 centimeters away, 1 centimeter away. His pinky brushed the side of her left breast. As soon as he committed that act, Kajuri quickly twisted her body, and Haku's arms. Before he could realize what was happening, Kajuri held both of his arms behind his back. A dart flew straight and true, and nailed Haku in the center of the forehead. The boy stopped moving, before falling to the ground below. When he hit it, he dispersed into a puddle of water. Cursing at her failed ploy, she automatically turned with her dagger drawn once more. Slicing at the paper-thin needle aimed for the jugular at her throat, she cursed, as 2 of the clones behind her were taken down by the needles. Turning quickly to face her remaining troops, she saw the poison dart clone get stabbed through the gut, dispelling that one. The other 3 had needles sticking through their eyes before they dispelled, as well, leaving Kajuri and Haku. "How did you break the Genjutsu?" she demanded, holding the dagger in front of her in a defensive stance. If he broke her Genjutsu, he was at least skilled. And while she was confident she could handle she like all the others were clones. They weren't indestructible, they were just stronger. But sooner or later, she would lose. Haku smiled just a little bit, showing true emotions. "Though you are very pretty, I am very good at detecting and breaking Genjutsu." Kajuri merely growled in response. Haku's smile disappeared from his face, as a kunai shot from his right sleeve into his hand. In a second, metal clashing against metal was heard throughout the forest. Naruto smirked slightly, as the sound of the battle he was in was accompanied by the sounds of the second battle that had just started. That either meant that Kajuri had found the second Akatsuki member, or that she had found another person that was unwelcome. His smirk disappeared, as he watched Kakashi get kicked to the side yet again. The sensei had several small, shallow cuts on his arms and legs. There was also a large slash going through his vest and shirt, but there was no visible wound. Zabuza, on the other hand, sported one large cut across the chest. His Akatsuki robe had long been discarded, revealing navy blue pants and his bare chest. Naruto watched as Kakashi hopped back at Zabuza, only to jump up, as Zabuza's blade almost cut him in half. The launched 3 kunai at Zabuza, but the demon had knocked them aside with his large sword. Kakashi landed about 10 feet away from Zabuza, kneeling on his right knee. Naruto appeared right in front of Kakashi just in time. Zabuza had run directly at the man, ready to decapitate him. Naruto held his blades out, ready to block the attack. As Kakashi dropped down to dodge, however, Naruto found himself thrown through the air and landed in the lake with a large boom. "Holy shit, he's strong," Naruto thought, as he resurfaced in time to see Kakashi get trapped within a water dome. "Naruto, I want you to hold off Zabuza while the others escape. Then run. You guys don't stand a chance against him," Kakashi ordered. "No way, sensei. Those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash," Naruto recited. Zabuza sneered. "Pathetic." And with that said, he created several water clones. 5 headed for the bridge builder, while the other 5 charged Naruto. The blonde Jinchuriki backpedaled, channeling chakra into his 2 blades. 2 sword style. "Double chakra blades slash," he said, swiping at the clones. 2 blades of chakra each flew from the Tanto. 3 of the clones were dispersed from not having reacted enough. The 4th had simply cut through the attack, while the 5th kept moving because he had not been targeted. Naruto ran in a burst of speed, and quickly slashed one clone down. The final clone swung his heavy blade at Naruto. The blonde rolled under the slice, and stood, ready to decapitate the clone. The clone, however, spun around with his blade, both effectively dodging the attack, and attempting at slicing Naruto in half. The blonde did a front flip, jumping over the attack while slicing at the Zabuza clones. The clone managed to dodge the first sword, but the second sword sliced the left arm off. Having taken too much damage, the clone fell apart in a heap. Shino cursed, and released his demonic bugs, as the 5 Zabuza clones ringed around the 2 genin, and the bridge builder. They were surrounded, and that was never really a good thing. One of the 5 ran in, as the other 4 adjusted the shape to make a square. The wasps and demonic bugs swarmed the clone. The clone managed to cut through a few wasps, but quickly enough the bugs took the clone down. Only then, when Hinata gasped, did Shino pay attention to the 4 clones that had not attacked yet. And when he saw them, he nearly peed his pants. Each clone had the famous sword stuck into the soil next to it. The clones themselves had just finished making hand signs. Above each clone, a large black fire dragon floated. Demon skill. Black fire dragon, 1. Each clone roared before falling into puddles, having poured all of the chakra Zabuza had provided them with into the attack. The dragons roared so loudly that Kakashi's Chidori sounded like a whisper, and then they charged, all intent on destroying them. Suddenly, a blur appeared right in front of Shino, just finishing hand signs. Shadow Dome. Ultimate protection. Naruto stated. Every shadow in a 20-foot radius contorted to Naruto's will until a dome of shadows surrounded the group. Each dragon flew directly into the dome, giving off the impression that they had simply phased right through the shadows. Naruto knew, however, that the shadows had absorbed the attacks. As the dome fell back into the shadows, Naruto knelt on one knee, breathing somewhat heavily. The Shadow Dome always took a lot out of him, for no real reason, other than it had a very high chakra consumption demand. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked. Naruto nodded, and stood back up, already doing hand signs. Fire style. Phoenix Flower Jutsu, he said. Several small fireballs flew from his mouth, covering a wide area. Zabuza cursed, realizing that he had to let go of the dome to even hope of surviving the barrage. And so he did. Having sliced through the last attack, he was about to go, and chop the genin in half when he felt a knife at his throat. I had Kakashi's head, to be more specific, leaned into his ear. Don't forget your opponent is me, he said. Zabuza just responded by falling into a puddle of water. Kajiri cursed, as she fell to one knee, breathing very heavily. Haku had stuck her with several. She also had a few slashes here and there. Haku smiled at her apologetically. I'm sorry that I put you through this, but you are a threat, and threats must be eliminated. With that, he tossed one of the few kunai he carried with him at Kajiri's head, striking her through the brain, and dispelling her. He turned back towards the battle at hand to see that his master was about to be taken out by the copy ninja. Kuzo. He whispered to himself before disappearing in a blur. Kakashi and Zabuza separated from the clash yet again. Inexplicably, the copy ninja had picked up his game when fatigue was setting in, and was now able to keep up with the S-class ninja that was Zabuza Mamachi. Zabuza knew that he was running low on chakra and needed to end the battle fast. Now was as good a time as ever. Placing the large blade on his back, he began a long series of hand signs. Kakashi saw this, and also started hand signs, though he was doing it slightly faster. But since he was a few hand signs behind, the two high-class ninja finished at the exact same time. Water style. Water dragon jutsu, they exclaimed. At once, the nearby water started to stir violently, until two identical beasts made of water stood above their creator. Each beast roared once before proceeding to demolish each other. As the rain fell, Zabuza started another long set of seals that he knew would be his last. He grinned, as he noticed that Kakashi was several hand signs slower than him. He only had 5 more hand signs left to do. Demon skill. Uprising of the dead. Naruto called out. Immediately, 3 skeletons burst from the water Zabuza was standing on, and tried to confine him with their bones. Zabuza, one with quick reflexes, immediately cut the chakra from his feet to dodge the attack. Only then did he realize that Kakashi was still continuing, and that he had stopped. Water style. Water vortex jutsu. Kakashi's distorted voice said from above the water. Now, many people would think that the top half of the water vortex jutsu would be the worst part. But, as Zabuza can now tell you, the half underwater is the part you don't want to be in. Well, the top half simply blows you around and away, the bottom half drags you in like a vortex. Of course, then there's the constant pounding of the water, the fact that he couldn't breathe, and the sheer pressure being put on his body. Almost as quickly as it came, it ended. The bottom half also destabilized, rocketing Zabuza through the water until he crashed into a tree that was somehow still standing underwater. The water subsided enough for Zabuza to breathe and see again. The sight he saw wasn't really pretty. Several ice wolves, along with Naruto clones, were circling him slowly and deliberately. Kakashi stood above him, Chidori posed to strike him through the heart. By ice wolves? How? Zabuza asked. Kakashi shrugged. I don't really know, but I don't really care. All I care about is your death, he said. Before he could ram his hand through Zabuza's heart though, a very large roar distracted everybody, but Zabuza, who grinned. A 30-foot-tall salamander roared once more, destroying basically anything and everything in its wake. Tazuna had been removed from the battlefield by Naruto, however, so there was no concern of failing the mission. Before Kakashi could turn back around, however, a hand chopped him in the back of the neck, causing him to fall into unconsciousness. What the fuck? Naruto cursed, as the salamander shot an ice beam out of its mouth, freezing a large area of land, and several clones. A few of his ice wolves attacked the thing, but its tail had simply shattered them into oblivion. Crap. Shino said, as he noticed Haku standing over the fallen form of the haddock. Abiram reacted quickly, sending a stream from his sleeve at the ninja, preparing to cut Kakashi's head off. The ninja cursed, and launched the kunai at the bugs before grabbing Zabuza off. Hinata. Protect Kakashi-sensei. Shino, help me take this thing down. Naruto said, as he raced forward, followed by the Abiram heir. Hinata backtracked, heading for her down sensei. Naruto and Shino stopped about 50 feet in front of the large salamander, not risking getting any closer. Naruto did several hand signs, while Shino released all of his bugs at once. Summoning jutsu. He stated. In a large puff of smoke, a very large toad appeared. Its back covered by a large blue jacket, the toad had a pipe sticking out of its mouth. Sheathed on its side was a tanto granted. It was several hundred times larger than a human tanto, but a tanto nonetheless. A large scar ran downward across one of the toad's big yellow eyes. Jiraiya, why have you summoned me? The large toad bellowed. The trees nearby rocked violently, almost ready to fall. Sorry for summoning you, Lord Gamabunta, but as you can see, there's a rather large salamander here, and I thought that you might want to make a wallet out of it. Naruto stated. Oh, it's you. Who else is up there? I'm not a taxi, you know. The boss toad stated. Naruto glanced over to Shino, who was shivering quite a lot. Only then did he remember that Shino was an Aburum, and that he had summoned a toad. He's a teammate of mine. Listen, the salamander can shoot ice beams somehow. Naruto said. Whatever. Get ready, because I'm about to jump. Gamabunta warned. Washino said before Gamabunta propelled himself into the air. Naruto, luckily, had anchored himself with chakra, and had grabbed hold of Shino before he could fall off. Take this. Gamabunta screamed, drawing his tanto. The large amphibian fell from the sky, slicing downward in an attempt to kill the salamander. The animal was smart enough to realize Gamabunta was a threat, apparently. The large tail rose up, and grasped the blade right before it cut through the animal. Gamabunta landed, while Naruto raced up his head, and then leapt off. In midair, Naruto's Rinnegan activated. Flipping through hand signs, Naruto finished his, and called out its name. Demon skill. Hellflame blast. He said, firing off a large blast of white fire at the salamander. The salamander fired a large ball of ice at the blast of fire. The fire burned through it easily, but was still delayed by the attack. That gave the opposing animal enough time to yank Gamabunta's blade from the large toad, and fling it into Naruto's attack, both disarming the great toad, and deflecting the attack. Gamabunta hopped back, grabbing Naruto with his tongue, and placing him back on top of his head next to Shino. Crap. Hey, Bunta, give me oil. Shino, set me up with the wind. Naruto demanded, already starting his short chain of hand seals. Gamabunta spat out a large amount of oil, while Shino finished his hand signs. Fire style. Toad flaming bomb. Naruto said, lighting the oil with flames. Wine style. Great breakthrough. Shino performed, fanning the flames, and making them burn even hotter. The salamander hissed in pain, as the whole area around it exploded in sizzling heat and flames. When the flames finally died down, however, only the skin of the salamander remained. Do salamanders even shed their skin? Naruto questioned. He got no answer, however, because said salamander appeared behind the toad. Jump. Naruto said. The large toad did so just in time, because the salamander shot out a blast of fire instead of ice this time. Crap. Naruto cursed. Gamabunta started doing his own hand signs. Take this. Water style. Gunshot. The large toad exclaimed before firing 3 large orbs of water. The salamander stabbed through the first, and turned the second into ice, but the third hit the salamander in its midsection, causing it to fall over. There. Lightning style. False darkness. Naruto said, firing a spear of lightning out of his mouth. The lightning blast connected with the wet area of the salamander, shocking him up and down. The salamander hissed, and stumbled around, knocking trees, and splashing water around. We've got him on the ropes. Demon skill. Summoning. Harbinger of death. Naruto announced. The air turned freezing cold, and the mist swirled into a large skeletal figure. It was easily as tall as Gamabunta, wearing a black robe with the hood raised, so that the face was unseeable. The figure also hefted the classical scythe on his shoulder. As soon as he appeared, trees in a 3-mile radius wilted and died. The figure swiped at the downed salamander, cutting its tail off. The salamander hissed, but was silenced almost immediately, as the figure then kicked it in the ribsage, lifting the several-ton beast off the ground. As it floated in midair, the figure then sliced the salamander's head off. The summon dispersed, as the figure disappeared. It was just a summon. Who the fuck has the salamander summoning contract, besides Hanzo the salamander? Naruto said angrily. Haku sneezed, and almost fell off his ride, as his salamander darted through the forest. Zabuza lay dazed behind him, held by a water clone. Haku, where are we? Zabuza slurred, almost like a drunken sailor. We are on one of my salamanders. We had to flee the battle, because the Haddock had taken you down, and before I could finish him off, Aburum noticed me. He sent his bugs after me, and I had to flee for risk of messing up the operation. I left another summon behind to wreak havoc, and delay their hunt for us. Haku said. That salamander contract saved us again. Hasn't a pain Sama blessed us with this? Zabuza replied, thinking back. Flashback. Haku and Zabuza kneeled side by side, sweating and bleeding profusely. Their opponent, wielder of the Rinnegan, stood feet from them, not even having broken a sweat. Behind him stood 3 more bodies, each with the Rinnegan as well. They all shared orange hair, and had piercings through their body. You say that you are willing to join us to hunt down the Mizukage, the Sambi Jinchuriki. You can't even beat 4 of the paths of pain. You will die fighting the Mizukage in this state. Is that what you want? Pain droned. Haku growled loudly and stood up, doing a large set of hand signs. Ice Sile. Frost breath, Haku said. He blew out a large amount of cold air that immediately turned the air cold and misty. The nearby Konin and Itachi shivered. They were watching because if Zabuza and Haku passed, then with the Orochimaru, there would be 12 members. Konin and Itachi, two of the strongest members of the group, would be paired with Pain. Sasori, Deidara, and Kisame would be another. Haiden, Kakuzu, and Orochimaru would be the final group. Zabuza and Haku could operate with Zetsu if needed, but it was more likely that they would end up together as a duo rather than a trio. Ice Sile. Frozen wolf hunting pack, Haku continued. Several ice wolves appeared around Haku and ran into the mist, ready to take down Pain. Water Sile. Water dragon jutsu, Zabuza said, as a water dragon appeared behind him. Ice Sile. Frost breath, Haku said again. He breathed into the dragon, causing it to freeze over, but not lose control, and turn into an ice sculpture. Zabuza sent his now icy dragon into the mist towards their opponent, Shinra Tensei. They heard him whisper. The mist cleared, the wolves were flung away, but the dragon was unharmed. It was batted off to the side, but rammed and froze over the Naraka path. The Diva path raised a brow at that. I suppose that managing to freeze one of my bodies is a large accomplishment. As I am God, I think that you pass. Welcome to Akatsuki. The Diva path monotoned while the Prita path went over and drained the chakra from the ice, shattering it and freeing the Naraka path. Haku and Zabuza grinned before both fell over, exhausted. Konin, take care of them. Itachi, come with me. The blue-haired lady moved over to the two exhausted missing ninja, while Itachi followed his leader wordlessly. Haku and Zabuza bolted awake at the same time, both jumping up and out of their bed. Realizing that they had no idea where they were, both grabbed their preferred weapons. Zabuza grabbed the hilt of his decapitating carving knife, while Haku lunged and grabbed his holster of needles. Armed, they slowly made their way to the door, until it burst open, showing Kisame followed by Itachi and Konin. Zabuza smirked. So this is where you went, Kisame-senpai. Kisame grinned in response at seeing his long-lost pal. Zabuza Mamachi, Demon of the Mist. Welcome to the club, he exclaimed, moving towards his former seven swordsmen. Before they could reach each other, however, Konin coughed, interrupting the moment. Welcome to the Akatsuki. Our goal is to capture all the tailed beasts. Your primary assignment, as you desired, is the Sanbi Jinchuriki, Yukara of the Mist. Secondary assignments are the other tailed beasts, and targets on other side missions. Here are your cloaks. You'll meet everyone else later. My name is Konin, and he is Itachi, she said, motioning to the extremely emotionless male that was staring at them with the famous Sharingan. Hello, Haku said cheerily. In response, a large scroll hit him in the head. He glared at the person who threw the scroll. Itachi stood there, looking at her with arms outstretched. Konin and Kisame chuckled at his antics. For the second most mature Akatsuki member, Pain being the first, Itachi was a big troublemaker. That is your summoning contract gifted to you by your new leader. He has given you the contract of the Salamander, a spoil of battle he received when he single-handedly overthrew Hanzo the Salamander. Itachi stated, lazily twirling a kunai on his right index finger. Why did he? He wants you to get stronger. But aren't we? No, you're not strong enough yet. Can you? I'd stop interrupting you if you weren't so predictable. All the other occupants of the room laughed while Haku fumed. The Uchiha gave the smallest of smiles. Flashback end. Yeah, this really saved us this time, didn't it? Haku asked. Zabuza merely nodded. So do we contact Pain-sama? I guess. Haku solemnly replied. Tsunami. Inari. I'm home. Tazuna shouted as he barged down the door. Following him, Shino and Naruto carried the unmoving body of their sensei. Hinata quietly slipped in, Byakugan still active in case of emergency or sneak attack. Dad. Who are these people? Tsunami exclaimed, rushing in only to stop at the side of the ninja. We are ninja hired by your father to protect him while he finishes building the bridge. It's worthless. You'll all die. A small boy shouted from up the stairs before running back away. Tsunami rubbed the back of her head in embarrassment and sadness. That's my son, Inari. Please excuse him, he's just rather emotional because of all the tough times we faced recently, she explained. Shino nodded. Do you have a spare room where we could put our sensei to rest? He's suffering from exhaustion, Shino explained. Oh? Tsunami said with a blush, showing that she only now noticed the masked ninja. Yes, we have a few rooms where you can stay. Please, follow me. Shino and Naruto nodded and took their teacher up the stairs. When they came back down, they sat together in the living room, watching out the window for any attackers. Unbeknownst to everyone else, but Naruto, Kajiri, and 3 clones sat in the shadows, ready to act. Another 2 stood outside, ready to alert Naruto in case of emergency. So Naruto, since you're obviously the team leader here, what do you guys plan to do? Tsunami asked after coming back downstairs from checking on Kakashi. Naruto glanced at her for a second. I think the Kakashi-sensei will train either Shino or Hinata a few days for the next 2 weeks, or at least until Zabuza shows up for round 2. He knows that I could hold off Sabusa and send him a message at the same time, so I'll most likely always be on guard duty. He'll then train one of us for a day, and the other will most likely join me on guard duty. But until he wakes up, we'll all just guard him. Tsunami nodded her acceptance at his answer and returned to her father. The three genin spent the rest of the day training for the inevitable battle that was soon to come. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.